Thank you, Carolyn. It's great to meet everybody today. So as Carolyn said, we're going to spend some time today learning about the cloud. Now, when we think about the cloud, it's kind of ambiguous, and it's sometimes what we don't understand can be kind of daunting. So we're going to kind of peel back the layers today and take a look at everything from a high level, and kind of lay it out in its simplest form, and then kind of dive in a little bit so we can understand how it can benefit us. So before we get started, I'm just going to give a quick background about myself. There we go. So I've got 20 years experience doing IT work. As Carolyn said, I do a lot of different sorts of IT positions, and I'm helping people. I do residential work as well as corporate work. And I do have a IT consulting firm, which is named Technically Right, spelled W-R-I-G-H-T. And Carolyn came up with that name. So I work with small businesses and residential clients doing website design, fixing computers, stuff like that. All right, so here is an overview of what we'll cover today. We're going to focus on big topics. What is the cloud? We're going to talk about the benefits of using the cloud. We're going to talk about how to use the cloud on your phones, and we're also going to talk about how to use the cloud on a computer. Just by a show of hands, how many of you use both a phone and a computer at home? Okay, so I think that'll be good that a lot of people will be able to see that. And then at the end, we've got some question and answer time. I've got a few common questions that people have asked me in the past, and then we'll dive in and open it up to you guys. Now, before we get started, I do want to reiterate what Carolyn mentioned. I want this to be conversational too. So if we're going over a slide and you have a question or don't quite understand something, feel free to raise your hand and take yourself off mute so we can go ahead and address your question. I do see most of you. I've got two screens going here, so I see most of you on this screen here. If you've got your camera turned on. All right. So what is the cloud? Show of hands, how many of you currently use the cloud? Okay. How many of you want to use the cloud but don't quite know what that means? All right, well, that's why we're here. So when we think of the cloud, it can be very ambiguous, like I mentioned.
I want to use it.
Go ahead.
No, this is Mel. How you doing? I was just saying I want to learn how to use it. I don't use it yet though, but I will after this.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks.
Yep. So the cloud has many different components, and here we see some examples. Well, it could be a desktop computer, it could be a server, it could be a laptop, it could be a network. There's all these different components that come together into the cloud. And what does all that mean? So we're gonna take a quick look here and see. To start off with, I want to show you. Here's 6 different icons of different cloud solutions. Does anybody recognize any of these 6 icons? Okay. If I was to give you a pop quiz, do you think you could name at least one of these?
The cloud itself. The second one, the top.
Top one. So what these different icons represent are 6 different companies that have cloud solutions. Now, there's dozens of companies out there that have cloud solutions, but I just, pulled top 6 at random. The first one was Google Drive. The second one was Apple iCloud. The third one was Dropbox. Fourth, we had a company called Box. Fifth was Microsoft OneDrive. And the 6th one was Amazon Web Service. So if we go back and take a look, this first one is Google Drive. I'm sure, if you guys have a Gmail account, you probably saw an icon like this or similar to that before. This top one was the Apple iCloud. So those of you that have iPhones or iPads might have seen that icon before. And then Dropbox and Box are both programs that you can install on your computer or smartphone. We're not going to cover those today. We'll focus on those another time. And then the last one's here, Microsoft and Amazon Web Service. So how many of you have bought stuff from Amazon before? right? So I mean, we use Amazon all the time to buy things and get them shipped to us, but not everybody knows that Amazon also has cloud storage. Amazon is a big player in the cloud too. Okay, so we're going to take a look at Google Drive and Apple iCloud. Those are the two we're going to focus on today. By show of hands, how many of you have a smartphone? Okay. And then how many of those are Android smartphones? Okay. And how many are Apple iPhones? Okay, so we have a good mix here, so we'll focus on both. So for Google Drive, those of you that have Android phones, Android phones are based on Google, so you already have a Gmail account. So Google Drive can be added to Apple products, but it's not included by default. So those of you that showed me, by show of hands that you use an iPhone, you can install a program on your iPhone that allows you to access Google Drive. So if you own an iPhone and you also have a Gmail account, you can certainly take advantage of the storage that Gmail offers you through your Gmail account while using your iPhone. And then for Apple iCloud, that's used on devices like iPhones, iPads, MacBook computers, and then you can also access it through a web browser from any device. So if you have an Android phone, but you also have like an iPad, you can synchronize that way. All right, so let's get into how does the cloud work. So both Google Drive and Apple iCloud offer limited, free versions of their program. So if you sign up for a Gmail account, or if you sign up for an Apple account because you have an iPhone, you'll have a basic amount of free storage. It varies depending on the platform. It's good for storing some photos and stuff like that. But if you want to do like complete backups of your phone, then you might need to purchase additional storage space. When you purchase storage space, that's available to you for monthly fees. So depending on how much storage you need, it's depending on how much they'll charge you. So when we think about the cloud, all the information is stored somewhere else. I mean, that's why we call it the cloud, because it's not saved on your device, it's saved somewhere else over the internet. So that data is actually stored in data centers. Data centers are huge warehouses that are full of rows and rows and rows of high capacity computers. So, if you think about, Amazon data centers or Facebook data centers, a data center is literally a warehouse full of computers. And it's connected to very, very high speed internet connections. So as soon as you save something to the cloud from your phone, it's sent to the internet and it's instantly saved in this data warehouse. And then it's duplicated and backed up among other data warehouses, so that if one of the warehouses were to catch on fire or something like that, your data would still be safe. So think of your data as being redundant in the cloud, so that it's not at risk of being lost. So as long as you have the features enabled on your phone, anytime you take pictures, it'll synchronize and back up to the cloud. So those of you that might have both an iPhone and an iPad, if you take a picture on your iPhone, you'll see it show up on your iPad in probably 15 to 20 seconds later, because it synchronizes through the cloud. And the cloud can also be used to back up your data. So if, for example, you want to go buy a new phone, if you have an Android phone, you can use Google Drive to back up your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can use iCloud to back up your phone. But either way, you can use the cloud to take a copy of what's on your phone, save it to the cloud, and then when you get your new phone, you can sign into your account. If it's an Android phone, again, it'll be your Gmail account. If it's an Apple phone, it'll be your iTunes or Apple account. And then you can, resynchronize your account back to the phone. So that way, when you go to buy a new phone, it's easy to, get all the information that you had on your previous phone. It includes photos and contacts and apps that you've downloaded. Calendar events as well. I didn't mention calendar events.
So if I have 2 phones, I've got a new phone and all the information is still on my old phone. I could transfer from that phone to the new phone with the cloud?
Exactly. Yes. So in the example you're asking, are you an iPhone user or Android user?
Android.
Android. Okay. So in your old phone, you're signed into your Gmail account. And then in the settings section of the phone, you'll be able to do a backup of the phone. So back up your contacts, so back up, any apps that you've downloaded. And then on your new phone, you'll want to sign in with that same account. So that's the key, is make sure you use the same email address, the same account on both phones. So the cloud knows that it's you that's trying to access that information. And then, from the new phone, you'll be able to restore that backup.
Oh, okay. I have to try that before we leave.
I'm sorry?
I might have to try that one before we leave.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions before we move on?
I have one quick question.
Sure.
When I turn on my iPad, it will tell me this system it has not been backed up for a while.
Okay.
But I never see that on my iPhone. So am I supposed to be doing something also to my iPhone to be backed up?
It is possible that you have the automatic backup feature turned off.
Okay.
I checked the iPhone to make sure that it's backed up. And then also I would check on the iPad.
And I would check that under settings. What?
Yes, it's under settings and then iCloud settings.
Okay.
The other possibility that could be is your iPad might have an outdated password for your account. So check to make sure that your same Apple ID account is being used on both your iPhone and your iPad.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Let's see. Looks like we have one person raising their hand. Go ahead.
I think sometimes people confuse backing up with updating the software.
Okay, that's an excellent point.
Particularly if they're not, technically oriented.
Right.
I have never, ever, and I'm terrible because I'm not a techie, but I use it a lot. I don't back up enough, but I never, ever have had a backup warning. But I'm always getting from Apple, I'm always getting update warning notices that, the software needs to be updated.
Right.
I'm just wondering if that notice, I can't remember who said they were getting it, might have been for an update rather than a backup.
Okay, I see someone holding up their phone to the screen. It says system update ready to install. So that's an excellent question. So update versus backup. So a phone backup is, kind of in line with what we're talking about here. It's going to take the information that's on your phone. And when I say information on your phone, what I'm talking about is the photos you've taken, any apps you've downloaded and installed. So, say you've downloaded games that you like to play on your phone. So those would be apps. Calendar events, if you save events to your calendar, or notes that you've taken. I know a lot of phones will have a program where you can take notes. So all that information that is unique to you, your personal information there, that information can be backed up and saved into the cloud. So it's going to take like an encrypted, compressed copy of everything that's on your phone. It's going to save it on the cloud. So if something happens to your phone, you can go get a new phone and then bring the information back to the new phone, and you're back to where you were from that date that backup happened. So that's separate from an update. So an update is something that is offered by the manufacturer. So those of you who have Android phones, updates will come from Google. Those of you that have iPhones, updates will come from Apple. And what an update is it improves the way that your phone behaves. So if if the engineers at Apple have found a way to make the phone behave a little bit faster, or they've found maybe a security risk that they want to give you an update for, so you no longer have that security risk, they'll send updates out periodically, maybe once a month, or a couple times a month they'll give you possible updates. And then when you do that update, it takes the program that makes your phone operate, and it gives it whatever updated code is needed to make it perform better. So updates really focus on the performance of the phone, whereas backups focus on preserving and protecting the information that you have put onto your phone.
So how often should you get this? Because this keeps popping up.
Yeah.
In a few minutes later, it'll come back up again.
Yeah, typically I would recommend installing an update as soon as it's available. If you're having an issue where you click on install and then it comes up again and asks you to install, it sounds like there might be an issue or maybe a bug with your phone. I would try maybe turning your phone off, waiting a few minutes and turning your phone back on to see if maybe that would clear out whatever issue is preventing the update from happening successfully.
Yeah, because it comes right back up again.
Yeah.
Corey?
Yes.
Can you tell people the difference between turning the phone off and powering it down? Because that can make a difference too in clearing it out, can it?
Yeah, so when I say turning the phone off, I do mean powering it down. So if you were to just tap the power button once, your screen would go blank. And then if you tap the power button again, the screen comes right back on. So that's putting the phone to sleep. It's just turning the screen off. When I talk about powering off or shutting the phone down, what I mean is take the power button, hold the power button for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then a message will pop up. Do you want to turn your phone off? And then you can confirm that you do indeed want to turn it off. For iPhones, it's like a little swipe, and then I think for Android phones, it's like a yes or a no type of a question.
Corey?
Yes?
Once in a while, I'll get an update and it won't do it unless the phone is plugged in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
might
not
be
if
something.
there's a larger update. So if the update is anticipated to take a long time, it'll require you to plug the phone in, because if the phone loses power in the middle of an update, it could damage your phone permanently. I see someone's raising their hand. Karen Rothman, I see you've got your hand up, and I'd like to give you a chance to ask your question.
Thank you. I'm going to turn my camera off because sometimes apparently it helps with my,
Yeah,
so I'm going to turn it off, but
I couldn't see your name.
I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
You can hear me.
Yep.
So this is, I know, a kind of a dumb question, a little bit embarrassing, so I'm probably flushing right now.
No worries.
But I really have a hard time with the idea of the cloud. Because I guess it's because it seems so intangible.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much, I have so many photos on my phone, and I know it keeps telling me I should back it up to the cloud, and I don't do it because I feel like I'm going to lose it. So I was interested in your beginning description about what the cloud is, that it's actually kind of like like storage units or warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be thinking of like a hard drive? I mean, I sort of feel like I lose it in the cloud.
Over there.
So,
Because it does sound like the sky to me, if that
right.
makes sense.
And
Like I know it's very silly, but it seems for me to be a super hang up because it seems not touchable or tangible or, to me, comprehensible. So that's my question. I don't know if you can help me. Maybe I need a psychiatrist and not a techie, but there we go. That's the honest truth.
Sure. Well, Karen, I want to thank you for asking the question. And as the IT professional, I don't think there's anything silly about that question. I mean, it's a common question I hear across a lot of people, is that they don't understand where the cloud is, and they're afraid to store their data in the cloud. And a couple slides from now, I'm going to kind of go over some of the security and certifications that are met by the cloud, to make sure your data is safe. But from a more tangible aspect, the cloud is exactly that. It's hard drives. I mentioned these data warehouses and data centers. It's just rows and rows and rows of computers with bunches of tons of hard drives inside them. And like I said, these computers are connected to the internet. So when you save, when you choose to save your photo to the cloud, it's being sent over the internet and it's landing in this data warehouse. It's landing in a hard drive somewhere, and that hard drive is keeping it protected for you. And like I said, data centers across the country are connected to each other. So if your photo goes from your phone to a data center in Boston, it's going to automatically replicate to somewhere on the West Coast, so that way, if something happens in Boston, your data is still accessible to you. If your phone will communicate to the data center on the West Coast. So it's not like the information is just kind of living out in free space. Once you save it to the cloud, it transmits over the internet and it lands onto a hard drive, in a physical hard drive inside a warehouse, and then it's duplicated for your protection.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
And then, I think that question kind of leads into,
Corey, I have a question. This is I'm hoping I'm asking this clearly. I have little memory left on my older iPad, but I've been paying for extra memory monthly, 99 cents a month. But how can I use that memory I purchased for the general memory of my iPad? If not, do I need it?
That's an excellent question. And I actually have a question like that covered in my frequently asked questions at the end of the presentation. But to give you a quick answer, the memory on your iPad and the memory in the cloud are two separate places of memory. So if your iPad is running low on memory, purchasing more cloud memory is not going to help, because your iPad was, manufactured from Apple with just a certain amount of memory. So, if you've got so much stuff on there that, it's running low on space, then we should take a look at some other options. And I'll talk about those other options in a little bit.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so Karen, kind of jumping back to your question about security, I'm going to talk about the benefits of using the cloud. And then on the next screen, I'm going to talk about the security standards behind the data that's stored in the cloud to help you, feel a little bit safer about, using the cloud. So, as we've been talking today, some of the benefits of using the cloud, allows you to access your photos and your documents and your files from anywhere. So, if you've got your, photos stored in the cloud, and you're over at a friend's house, but you forgot your phone, you could use your friend's computer, sign into your account, and then you can open up your photos there and show your friends some photos. So it's a way of keeping your data accessible anywhere that you're with an internet connection. And then one of the other key benefits that I think we've talked about already is if you lose your device, your information is still safe. So if Karen, in your example, you've got tons of photos on your phone. If you decide to save those photos to the cloud and you want to go get a new phone, then your new phone can also get those photos. Whereas right now, if they're not saved to the cloud, the process of copying those from your old phone to a new phone is going to take a lot longer, and it's a lot more challenging. And the same if you break a phone or you lose a phone. A lot of people get new phones accidentally, right? So things happen. So it's using the cloud is a good way to safeguard against losing precious photos if something happens. And then those of you that use a computer at home as well, same sort of idea. Think about all the important documents you have on your computer. If something were to happen on your computer tomorrow, what would you do if you didn't have those documents saved in the cloud? All right. And now to take a look at the next slide is how safe is the cloud? And this really hits Karen's question right on the head. So cloud storage solutions are extremely safe. I kind of talked about the physical mechanics behind it, what happens to the data. But there's also compliances that are in place too. So you think about HIPAA compliancy, or Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This really has to do with patient information in the healthcare system. hospitals, hospitals are using cloud storage all the time. If you go to, a hospital in your town and then you have to go to another location a few towns over, they've got your information shared. Well, they use cloud solutions. So, Google Drive and Apple iCloud, they're both secure. They both meet HIPAA requirements that are set forth by the government. And other government standards too. We have the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. If you take a look at, I don't know if any of you are, have a legal background or have any interest in that, but if you take a look at all their standards, I mean, there's tons of different requirements and different protocols that they set forth. And, Google Drive and Apple iCloud meet those requirements for data security, as well as Department of Defense. The US DoD has a lot of requirements as far as data security. If you're trying to intentionally erase data off of a computer, the Department of Defense has a lot of standards as to how that needs to be done. So it's very important that data stays secure. So these government agencies take it very seriously when it comes to data security and data privacy. So when you're using the cloud, you can feel safe that your information is safe. Now, the next thing we want to look at is your information is as safe as you want it to be. So, if I was to, share my personal passwords with everybody on this call, and then everybody on the call, shared this video with all of their friends, well, now my password has gotten out to everybody else. And then, anybody who sees that can use my password and sign into my account and, delete my data, copy my data, steal my data, whatever. So it's really, really important that, if you have, information in the cloud, and especially, important sensitive information, not to share your passwords with other people. Keep those passwords safe. And you don't want to have your passwords written down on a desk at work, because then, on your day off, a coworker could come over and look at those passwords that are written down there. So it's just a matter of being mindful about how you protect your data. And quite often, when you sign into your account, you'll see a function called two-factor authentication, or 2FA. So how many of you have tried to sign into your email online, and you've had to get a text message code, and then you have to put the code in to access your email account? Exactly. So that text message code is what we call two-factor authentication. So your password, the password doesn't change unless you change it. But then that two-factor code that they text you, I mean, that code is going to be valid for a short period of time, maybe 30 minutes. And then, since you use that code from your cell phone to sign in, they can prove that that's you. So it's another way of, adding a layer of security between, people accessing your data.
So what if you forget the passcode to an old email address?
It'll send you a code. So when you sign up for your Google account, for example, your Gmail account, you give them a phone number. So your phone number is saved in your account profile. So then if you go to a computer you've never used before and try to sign into your Gmail account, it'll send you a text message code that you have to enter the code as part of the sign-in process before you're allowed to see your email and before you're allowed to access the documents in the cloud.
They were sending a code to the address I'm trying to get into. I'm like, I can't get the code because I can't get in the email address.
Yeah, so there should be a way that we can add your cell phone number as an additional authentication method, so they can send you a text message instead of an email.
Okay. All right, we'll figure it out. All right, thanks.
Sure.
I have a quick question.
Oh, sure.
You say don't write passwords on paper, although I can imagine that I speak for others as well when I say I write my passwords on paper or I wouldn't remember them. Do you have other suggestions of where to safely store passwords?
Yeah, so there's a few ways you can get creative about this. From a corporate standpoint, and when I'm taking a look at a big corporation and, trying to make sure that they meet certain standards so that their, company can be certified as, secure. A lot of times I've seen people in their office environments write passwords down on their desk on sticky notes on the monitor. So, it's a lot riskier when you're in a corporate environment to have passwords written down by your computer. In a home environment, when it's just you or, just you and your family that you can trust, it's a little less risky to write passwords down, but the risk comes in, if someone was to invade your home, if, say you weren't home, but, someone came into your house, they were able to, see those passwords that are written down. So I think that, writing down passwords always has some inherent risk to it. And ways to kind of change this. Everybody, with a smartphone, there's notes apps on the phone. You could save passwords in the notes app, and then you can actually encrypt that specific note. So you have to put a password in before you open the note. So hopefully you don't forget that password. Another thing I recommend is a lot of times people will have a password that they use over and over again, but they might change it a little bit.
Mhm.
So, if you use, the same password, but then you add some characters at the end, maybe you could just write down those characters that you've had to add to the password without writing down the whole password. Just kind of write down little notes that trigger your memory so you know enough so that you know what that password is, but it doesn't tell someone else what that password is.
That's a good point.
Or, I don't know how many people are bilingual here, but I've known some people who will have passwords in other languages, but then they write down the clue, or they write down on the paper what that password is in their own language, but then they know that they have to translate that to a different language. So you kind of think of ways to kind of encrypt it in your mind so that other people won't have access to that information.
Lori, one of the things, I'm a long time Excel user.
Okay.
And so one of the things I do, I have a spreadsheet that has all my passwords on it, but with Excel, you can put a required code to be able to open up a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's another good way.
That's another safe way of doing it, unless I happen to forget what that code is, then I'm in trouble.
Right. Yeah. So Microsoft Word also has that functionality too. So both Word and Excel have the password protect functionality, and that is encrypted. I mean, there's no way to hack into that if you forget the password. So as long as you'll remember the password to open that document, that's another secure way of doing it.
Do you know if it works on I don't even know if I have Excel on my phone.
Yes, Microsoft does offer apps for both iPhone and Android for Excel and Word, but it's
probably expensive. Huh?
I don't know, what specific version that you're using right now, but it is a monthly fee that's included with the base version. So it depends what your version is to how much it is per month. But it certainly is possible to get that on your phone.
And I just wanted to mention, Rebecca popped in the chat a link to a guy who lost $220 million because he forgot his Bitcoin password. So I'm just thinking in my own head that maybe like if you do have a journal or a password book, that might be something you would want to store in like a fire safe box or where you store all of your important stuff, whether that be a safe in your home or if you have a safe box at the bank or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you for that. I don't have visibility on the chat, so I didn't see that she left a message.
I was going to say something like, I personally do have a hidden master list on paper in my home. The point, Corey, about I've also seen people with a Post-it on their computer, and that's very ridiculous, in my opinion. But I do have the paper list, but you're right, it is a liability. And then if you have assets like this gentleman, a safety deposit box, or many people have a safe in their home, something like that, Yeah, if you've got that kind of that money and assets. You better know your password.
Absolutely.
And sorry to jump in again, but another thing is some passwords are more important than others, right? Like your banking password for sure is important, but your Facebook password, I mean, yeah, you could get hacked, but that's you're not going to lose millions of dollars over Facebook. So,
Well, I had a bad experience. The very first email account I opened up way back, I don't know how, but it got hacked. And that email address was used as an ID for almost everything I do in life. And it took me about 3 weeks or so, several hours a day, going back and it was a nightmare. It was even an ID with Microsoft on my Microsoft account. And I had to prove to them that it was me, and I had to wait a month while they investigated me and finally approved the change. But boy, I'll tell you, your email address, which is commonly used as an ID, really needs to be protected. Your password on that, I think, anyway.
Right, and I agree. It is very challenging to get your email account back if it's been hacked. I've seen that process take several days or a couple weeks in your case. All right, so let's move to the next slide here. Okay, so using the cloud on an Apple iPhone or iPad. Again, like I said, each type of phone has their own unique cloud. iCloud is Apple's product. So it uses your Apple ID, email, and password. Like I said, Google Drive is still available for use on Apple phones. If people have both, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to make a backup of your iPhone and iPad, that requires iCloud. You can't use Google Drive to make a backup of an Apple product, but you can just, you can still store your information there. Now take a look at the Android system. So Google Drive, when you have an Android phone, it automatically comes with Google Drive. It comes with all the Google accounts. Quite often, new phones I've seen now actually have a folder that says Google, and you open up that folder, it has all the different Google apps in that folder, and Google Drive is one of those. So it uses your Gmail account and email and password as a login. And then if you want to back up your Android device, it has to use Google Drive. You can't back up your Android phone to iCloud. All right, so we kind of talked about, spent some time talking about phones and devices. And I did mention, I know a lot of us use computers too. So if you open up a web browser, I think of like Chrome or Firefox or Safari or Edge, any of those browsers, you can go to iCloud.com or drive.google.com, and then you can log in with your credentials. Again, your email address, password. It'll probably ask you for verification. But then once you've signed in on the website, you can access all of your information that way. So you can see your photos, you can see your documents, any notes, things that you have backed up, you can view from the computer. So, it makes it easy for you to, see information. If you want to, save photos from your phone to your computer, you can, sign in to the cloud on your computer and then download those photos to your computer if you want. All right.
If you have photos saved in iCloud, do you have instant access through your phone, or do you have to download them to see them?
That is an excellent question. I would say 9 times out of 10, you have instant access.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then this gets back to the question that was asked earlier. I forget who it was asked about not enough storage on your iPad, but you purchased extra storage. Who was it that asked that question?
Yeah, it was some.
I did, Annette.
Annette, okay, yes. So that kind of gets back to Annette's question. So if your device is running low on space, so like your iPhone, your iPad, when it's in your manufactured Apple, it only has so much space inside that device. And if that space is starting to get full, there is an option to save space on the device. So what it would do is, say you have 10,000 photos that are all taking up space on this device. Well, if it's getting close to its capacity, it can automatically take, let's say 9,500 photos and send them up to the cloud. And then that way your device is only going to hold the most recent 500 photos. So that way it frees up some space because it's, kind of automatically allocating, realizing it needs some more space. So it will send those photos up. So it'll keep what it calls a thumbnail on your computer. So it's going to be a very low quality version of the photo. So if you're scrolling through all your photos, you'll see these kind of blurry thumbnails of what the photo looked like. And if you click on it, it'll give you a little, rotating clock while it downloads from the cloud, and then it'll pop up the full version. So, in that sense, the photo was living on the cloud, but since you wanted to access it, it downloaded it so you could access it.
And how do you do that to free up space?
Yeah, so that option is called optimize storage. So that's an option that's going to be available again to iPhone and iPad users. And I believe it's under your photo settings, but the keyword there is optimize storage.
Now, if I do it, I have an iPhone and an iPad that are synchronized. Mm-hmm. So if I do it on my iPad, will it also do it automatically on my iPhone? I have more memory on my iPhone. So
no, it will not automatically do it on your other device. That's a per device setting. Okay,
thank you.
Sure.
But what about pictures with JPEG?
Good question. So JPEG refers to the way that the computer stores the picture information. So when you take a picture, your computer saves that information to the phone, and then goes up to the cloud. And JPEG is just telling you what file type is used, or how the computer has saved that picture. So it's not really something that you need to worry about as much. It's just more telling you how the computer is saving that information. So you'll see like there's JPEG is a common option. There's also PNG. I don't know if you've seen PNG photos. Bitmap, that's a little bit of an older one. So there's all these different formats. And they have their pros and cons. JPEG is good for viewing photos on a device, and then like a website and whatnot. And some formats offer higher quality than others. So like if you're going to go get like some professional photos printed, they might be a different type of photo.
If the photo is more professional, does it take a lot more space?
Yes.
Okay.
So the higher quality, so the higher quality of the photo, the more space it takes, just because there's more data there, there's more information there to be had. So the more information that you need to have in that photo, the more space it takes. Good question. Okay, so let's see what's next. Okay, so now we're going to kind of jump into the FAQs, which I think we've kind of covered. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We've got 12 minutes. So this first FAQ really kind of goes back to Annette's question about, we're running out of space. So in Annette's example, the iPad was running low on space, but she purchased a bunch of space on iCloud. So we could use that optimized storage, get some of those photos off of the iPad, free up some space, and then those will be saved to the cloud. Quite often what I see is actually the opposite problem. People have enough space on their device, but they haven't purchased additional iCloud space. They're still using the free space that's allowed to them with their free account. So in that case, your phone or your iPad might be trying to do a backup, but it can't do a backup because there's not enough space in the cloud. So, if you see an error message that says your iCloud account is out of space, that just means that the cloud space that you're allocated isn't enough for the information you're trying to put onto it. So in that situation, I'd recommend purchasing some additional storage.
The free storage, it's like 99 cents a month.
99 cents a month is, I believe, for 50 gigabytes.
Oh, is that
That's
what it is?
That's what I have.
Yeah, I could. I'll have to double check on that. I should have put those numbers in here. But the free storage for iCloud is 5 gigabytes, I believe.
I did a fast calculation. If 25 million phone people did that, it would be like $300 million of income to Apple.
Well, maintaining these data centers that we talked about isn't cheap either.
That's true. Have you purchased an Apple phone lately?
No, I did a month-to-month plan that, after 2 years, I own the phone, and that expired about 2 years ago. So I've had the same phone for almost 4 years now. So but I know if I was to go purchase a new one, it's not cheap.
It could be $1,000 or more, actually.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, it's not really a phone. It's a computer that you hold in your hand. It just happens to make phone calls. But okay, so I think we've kind of gone over this question here. Thanks to Annette, who asked this question a little bit earlier. So the next question is, can I use my iCloud storage on non-Apple devices? And the answer is yes. You can use Google Drive and Apple iCloud have programs you can install. So if you're on your computer, you can install programs, Google Drive or Apple iCloud. They have programs you can install on your computer, so then you can save documents to those cloud folders on your computer, and then in the background they automatically synchronize back to those data centers, so you don't have to worry about losing those information or those data if you lose your computer or your computer crashes. All right. The next question is, I moved something to the cloud and then I deleted it off my device. Where is it now? Is it gone forever? This is really an ambiguous question. If in most cases, yes. So if you've got your phone and you've got your photos, synchronized back to either Google Drive or Apple iCloud, those devices are synchronized together. So if you delete them from one device, the system is going to think you wanted to delete it from the cloud too. So when you have synchronized devices, if you delete it, it'll pull it off the cloud and erase it. But the good news is, in most situations like that, it'll go to a recycle bin, or Apple calls it recently deleted photos. So those photos will kind of be recoverable for 30 days. So that way, if you need to undo that action, you have time to undo that.
So I have a question, and I guess I have as many questions as anyone else, but if the whole point of me using cloud storage is to get the stuff off of my device into the cloud, then I want to free up the space on my device. So I, in theory, want to delete it from my device, but still have it live somewhere, right?
Right. So that's a common misconception about the cloud. So in Annette's case, where I recommended using the optimized storage, your iPhone or iPad is going to automatically optimize that storage for you, and it will delete what it wants to delete, but it kind of knows in its mind where those files live if you ever need to get them back. So if you go in there and you actively delete a photo, it's going to say the user deleted this, I want it gone, and it's going to delete it from the cloud. So the point of using the cloud is more to protect your data from something bad happening. So like I said, if you lose your phone, if your computer crashes, if you drop coffee on your computer, something like that. Using the cloud is a way of protecting your data. It's not necessarily a way of freeing up space on your local device.
But if I wanted to, for instance, log on to iCloud.com and upload a document or photos, directly onto the cloud, then it permanently lives on the cloud, right?
Correct. So if you open up your computer and you go log into a cloud via the web browser, you choose a folder, choose some files to upload, it'll copy them. They'll still live on your computer, but then there'll be a copy on the cloud.
And that would be separate. So I could, in theory, delete it from my device and it would still be on there.
In that sense, yes, it would be separate because you manually uploaded it from your computer to the cloud, as opposed to synchronization. So
okay,
when you think of something being synchronized, that's where you run the risk of deleting it in multiple places, because synchronized is across many devices.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
One-time upload is different. An upload takes a copy and saves it.
So Corey, in the synchronizing of old photos where they're in the cloud and they're on your phone but they're fuzzy,
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you're using less memory, storage memory on your phone because they're fuzzy?
Yes.
Okay, that's
So,
okay.
yeah.
But you still have them. But if you deleted one, it's gone, basically.
Correct. Because so the way that works is it puts the fuzzy copy on your phone because it takes up hardly any space compared to the full resolution of the full picture.
Gotcha.
But it's still, the system is smart enough, it knows which photo that represents. So when you click on the fuzzy photo, it goes and grabs the real one from the cloud so you can see it. But on the other side of the token, if you delete the fuzzy one, it knows which one you deleted, so it'll go back to the cloud and say, hey, he wanted to delete this photo, and it'll delete the original version too. All right. I think I've got one more FAQ, and then we'll open up to any more questions. So this question here is kind of talking about the different types of storage. Today we focus on cloud storage, which is the first row here. So we have cloud storage, we have hard drive, and then we have flash drives. How many of you use flash drives, like those little USB memory drives you stick in a computer? Okay. So here I've kind of laid out some pros and cons about each the cloud storage, hard drives, and flash drives, so you can kind of take a look and see. Can everybody read this, or do you want me to kind of go through here bullet point by bullet point? All right, I'll give a quick overview in case people.
Will this be available to us? Your notes are wonderful.
Yes. So I'll make sure that everybody can get a copy of this PowerPoint deck. So we obviously spent today talking about cloud storage, the pros and the cons. The biggest con for cloud storage is the fact that you will likely have to pay for it if you want enough space to back up the entirety of your phone or the entirety of your iPad. Hard drives refer to space that's inside your phone that comes from the factory that you can't alter, or also inside your computer. That's good because you always have information with you wherever you go. However, if you lose or damage your device, then that information is likely lost as well. And then a flash drive, those are compact, easy to carry around. They can hold a lot of information. Actually, I've got one right here I can show you. So little thing like this. So it's easy to carry around, but it is USB, which means it has to be read on a computer. You can't plug this into a smartphone. So there's some pros and cons of each type of storage.
They do make them for iPhones now.
I was just going to say that I've seen them now that you plug into the little charger port. But I guess my thing with flash drives, because I never really, I mean, I grew up during the floppy disk days, and it's gone on now, flash drives, jump drives, but I've never really caught on to the jump drive thing, because if you lose your jump drive or your flash drive, you don't have it. So to me, although the cloud is confusing, I really think it's more accessible, because as long as you can get on the internet, you can access your documents and photos. So just my take.
Well, I think you have two different objectives. If you're on the cloud, it's just you could access it if you're in Russia, but you can't. But if that unless you have that flash drive in your pocket, you don't have what's on the flash drive. The other thing that's so incredible is the Google Drive. I've never tried it with Apple, but if you're in a collegial situation where you're working on documents and you have 3 or 4 people working on the same document, it's quite amazing how efficient you can be getting at that document, making changes, describing why you're making the changes, and the next person can see it as long as you have your computer on. I mean, it's all on the internet. I think I guess that's cloud. I guess that's cloud storage.
I think we could spend a whole another hour talking about how to use Google Docs.
Oh, there's so many advantages that that go beyond your house or what's in your pocket. It's really amazing. You just have to have confidence. It's overcoming. First of all, I think for older people, frankly, and I am definitely one of those, Apple uses terminology that applies to younger people. I mean, who in the heck wants to think about clouds when you're 80 years old, It's just like, it's nuts. But anyway, it's another story.
That was my goal today, is kind of break it down and make it a little less scary. So hopefully,
Thank you.
we'll
You did a
accomplish
great
that.
job.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so last slide here is questions. If anyone has any other questions or
Corey.
conversation points.
This is Fran. I have tons of pictures on the cloud. And I just moved, I found 10 more pictures that we're putting on the cloud. How do I display them to people? I mean, there's so many pictures.
That's an excellent question. So, I mean, there's a few ways we can go about that. If there's a handful, like, maybe 5 pictures that you want to share with somebody, you could email those to somebody. Share them via email. We could also think about slideshows. So if you have categories, so like, you've got 100 pictures from last summer's vacation that you want to share. We could create a folder or an album, they call it, and then we could associate those 100 pictures with that album, and then you could share that album with people that you want to share the album with, and then they could log into their computer and they could view it online that way. So it really depends, how many photos it is you want to share and how many people you want to receive those photos.
How do I create an album?
So the cloud that you're talking about, is it a Apple cloud or is it an Android Google Cloud?
Apple Cloud.
Apple Cloud. Okay, so if you open up your phone and go to Photos, there's an option to create a shared album. So those are keywords you want to look for: create shared album. And then that allows you to choose photos to add to the album, as well as recipients to view that album.
Okay. Thank you.
Do those people have to be Apple users?
That's a good question. If they are not Apple users, they'll have to view it from a computer or web browser. They can view it online that way. If they are Apple users, it works much more seamlessly. They can open that up in their own Photos album.
So on an Android, I'm in the Photos, but I see where it says create an album on the phone.
Yeah, Android has very, very similar functionality. You can create shared albums in your Photos on Androids too. All right, Karen, looks like you have another question. I can't hear you, Karen.
Yes, I'm going to go back to my original problem, and maybe you're the one who can solve it for me after I don't know how many months, literally, or a year maybe. So I have an iPhone, and I have a Chromebook. And at some point, a friend told me just to go ahead and use the Google Photo app.
Okay.
So, obviously on my Chromebook, I have it, and that's where I spend most of my photo time. But I also have also installed that on my iPhone. So it's it's worked well in some ways, but I'm confused. I have two messages. Can I read them to you?
Sure.
Maybe you can explain to me. Okay, so on my phone, which is, it's an iPhone, and when you click on photos, you have the camera and then your photos, this is my message. It says 82, 15 photos, 41 videos, restore from from iCloud paused, manage storage, not enough iPhone storage. So is that my device?
Yes, that would be the case that we talked about with the net.
Right. Okay, which I did not understand till today. Thank you. And then let me just for contrast go to my Google Photo, which again is an app on my phone, which again, this is since they're synchronized, I do a lot of work on that.
Mhm.
And let me see, now can I find that? Where was that message? Oh, here we go. Okay, so it says, this is under account storage. It says, and this was my silly question, 3,450 items to delete from this device, because what I do is I take a photo of a object or a painting in the museum, and then I do the caption, and then I actually I notate that onto each of my photos. So that way I'm compressing it. So I think that's what this says. It says 3,450 items to delete from this device. These items have been safely backed up to your Google account.
Okay.
So is that the cloud? If I delete them?
Yeah, so in that case, it's saying has been safely backed up to your Google Drive. So it's trying to free up space on your phone because it realizes that you're running low on space. One thing I would recommend, Karen, is if you go back to your Apple photo settings, so I'm talking about leaving the Google app for a second and taking a look at your standard iPhone settings. Look in the photo settings for the optimized storage option that I talked about earlier. And it sounds like that, maybe you should turn on that feature to help some space get freed up on your phone.
Apparently it is.
Okay.
Check. So this has nothing to do with the cloud. This is all my phone.
Yeah, I mean, without looking at your phone in person, based on what I'm understanding from those messages, it sounds like your phone is running low on space.
It is a bit older.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time on this. Thank you.
Yep.
This is Mel. I had the question on how to transfer my files from the old phone to the new phone.
Okay.
I have both phones. They're charged up.
Okay. And this was Android, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the settings, I don't have an Android phone in front of me. So in the settings for the old phone, do you see an option about backing up or back up this phone?
Wait a minute. Get in there. Okay, so I got to go in settings. Settings, right?
Yeah.
Now, airplane, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, data, calling, more works, notification, storage, battery, applications.
I'm guessing it would be under accounts or system.
Let's see, I have accounts. Google, Pinterest, Verizon Cloud. So it would be Google.
Yeah, what's under Google?
Okay, my email address is that sync.
Do you see anything about backup?
Not yet. Play games, play, Facebook, news, data, email. Google Drive, check Drive. I don't see backup. So
Okay.
it's just syncing everything in this part.
Yeah, so syncing is good. So then your apps will get
Sync them
backed
together.
up.
So where would I find it?
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking, Mel, is maybe it'd be best if I was able to send you an email afterwards with some written out instructions and maybe some screenshots, you know, so that way, you know, we could kind of follow step by step.
Well, I found backup and reset. Is that it?
Yeah, it should be under backup. Yeah, if you see backup, then we've found what we're looking for.
Backup and restore. Backup my data.
Yeah, click on. You do not want to click on restore. That's going to be for the new phone, but you want to click on backup my data.
Backup my data. Backup my application data, Wi-Fi, password, and other settings to Google Search.
Yes.
Okay, that's on.
Okay. So that's probably that step's probably going to take a while for it to finish. But then
this is all I see. So I don't know what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
Is that
So
right?
yeah, so I would give that maybe a few minutes, but then on your new phone, you'd want to go to that same section of the settings, but on the new phone, you'd click on restore, and then that would pull over the information from the cloud into your new phone. Does that make sense?
To do the same thing in the new phone.
Correct, yeah. So on the new phone, instead of clicking on backup, though, you click on restore.
See, what was that? Set accounts backup. Looking for something else. Let's see. So backup data, external storage, reset.
It should say restore, not reset.
Okay, backup data, bring data from old device. Would that be it?
Yes, bring data from old device.
Welcome to Smart Switch. That agree to the terms and agreement. Okay. Then it says, welcome. Okay.
All right.
Needs the following permissions: the call logs, contacts, calendar. So you have to allow that, right?
Yeah, go ahead and allow that. And then while you're working on that, Mel, I'm going to see if anyone else has any questions, and then we can circle back to you. Because I know we're at time now, so I don't want to keep everybody. If anyone else has questions they want to ask. Does anyone else have some questions?
Corey, if no one else has a question, I got in the habit of backing up my iPhone to iTunes.
Okay, on your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I could still do that, but that's not what people are doing anymore, is it?
Well, I had a backup of my phone in iTunes, and I ended up deleting it a couple weeks ago because I decided I didn't need it anymore. Yeah, just make sure, you know, before you delete that, make sure that your iPhone is backing up to the cloud. You know, so if you take a look at the backup settings, it'll say this device was last backed up, and it usually does it automatically every night. So as long as, you know, it says last backed up was sometime in the past, you know, 12 to 24 hours, I would feel safe deleting it from iTunes.
I hate to ask this question. I feel like a dummy, but I don't know where to find that in settings.
So for an iPhone user, if you click on settings, the very first option is your iCloud account up at the top of the page. So click on your iCloud account.
Okay.
And then if you scroll down a little bit, there should be a backup feature there.
Boy, I just see passwords. I see iCloud.
Yeah, so if you click on iCloud, I believe backup should be a subcategory of that.
Storage, manage storage. Apps using iCloud.
You know, click on storage. It might be, let me grab my iPhone real quick. I'll tell you for sure.
I think it's if you're in settings, iCloud, and then apps using iCloud, and you scroll down to iCloud backup.
Well, I see iCloud. Oh, there it is. That's under all of the apps.
Okay, yeah, iCloud backup, and then the screen will look something like this, and it shows you a date and a time that it was last backed up.
All right, well, mine was turned off because I've been using iTunes. So I should turn that on, huh?
Yeah, turn that on. And then, as long as you have your phone plugged into a charger overnight, it'll automatically back up every night. But it will not do that if you don't have your phone on a charger.
Well, we're backing up right now and we're plugging it in. So my wife and I should both do that with our iPhones then, instead of forget about iTunes.
Yeah, just make sure that you get a successful backup before you forget about iTunes.
Okay, another really dumb question then. Well, music that we have on iTunes that we've saved over the years, will that be in the cloud or will that still be on the computer? And do I still have, if I want to load it on to my phone, do I have to, it's kind of awkward, but is that how I get music into my phone?
It's a great question. And the answer is it depends. So if it's music that you've purchased through iTunes.
None of it was purchased through iTunes.
Okay, so then no, it's not in the cloud.
Not in the cloud.
No, yeah. So the only stuff in the cloud is music that you purchased through iTunes. Because
Okay.
those licenses, you own the license to that song, and that license is shared among your devices. But
Okay.
if it's music that's come off of CDs that you've uploaded to your computer, uploaded to iTunes from your computer, that lives on your computer.
I think it came off of Media Player.
Yeah, okay,
I think
that's possible too. Yeah, so maybe through like Windows Media Player.
which I use a lot, frankly.
Right. So those files live on your computer, not on the cloud.
All right. So
if you want to get those to your phone, you'd have to plug your phone into the computer and transfer them through iTunes.
okay, it's kind of an old-fashioned way of doing it, but
It's the only way to do it in that case.
yeah, the only way. Right. Thank you.
Sure.
I think Bob had his hand up too.
Okay.
Hi, Corey. I came in about 10 or 15 minutes late today.
No worries. We like Carolyn said, we're recording this and we'll send out the slides afterwards too, but I'll go ahead and answer any question you have.
Yeah, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. Can you tell me how to, I have an Android S6, so I have an old phone. Can you tell me how to get in and access the cloud?
Yes. So in the Android, somewhere in your apps is a icon or an app called Google Drive.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. Okay.
Yeah. I'll switch. If you're still looking at my slide, the icon is going to look like this top left. It'll be a triangle with blue, yellow, and green on it.
Yes. So let's see, blue, yellow, and green.
Yeah, this icon here.
Yeah, I don't have. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay, Drive. All right, got that app. Okay.
So that's where all the documents are stored.
Okay, and then it's got an option update or keep the old version.
Right.
Okay. So this is my cloud.
Yeah. So that's where all the information is stored. And likewise, if you were to go to your computer and sign in to drive.google.com, you'd be able to access all those files through your computer too.
So all the files from my laptop are there, or all the files?
No, not. You could add the files manually from your laptop to the cloud if you want to back them up, but by default they're not going to be there. But we can use your computer's browser, like if you use Chrome or Microsoft Edge, whatever browser you use, you could log in and you can view any files that you've saved there from your phone.
Okay, so when you download pictures to the cloud, they stay on your phone unless you delete them from your phone, correct? You're basically copying them to cloud, and then there's maybe an option to delete them from your phone at that point.
Correct. And I mentioned this earlier, maybe you weren't here yet. If your phone is synchronized, if the photos are synchronized, when you delete a photo from your phone, it will also delete it from the cloud.
So, but if you want to free up space on your phone, isn't that the purpose of putting them on a cloud, so you free up space so you can take more pictures on your phone?
So there are options to optimize storage, and I don't remember off the top of my head what that feature looks like on an Android device. where essentially the phone will, kind of use its own intelligence, and once you start running low on space, your phone will, release some memory and keep the photos backed up on the cloud automatically.
Okay, then I also noticed that I signed up for Verizon Cloud for some reason. Is there any need for me to have both of those?
With Verizon, I've never used Verizon Cloud, but I believe that the Verizon Cloud is for backing up your phone if you need to transfer over to a new phone. So if you're using Google Cloud to back up your phone, then you would not need to also have Verizon Cloud.
Okay.
But like I said, cloud storage you have to pay for. So if Verizon is offering you space as part of your cell phone package, then perhaps it would be smart to use Verizon's cloud instead of Google's cloud, just because there might be more space available to you that you don't have to pay extra money for. But that would be a matter of taking a look at how much space you have in Google versus how much space you have in Verizon. And one drawback I do want to caution you of, if you choose to leave Verizon and go to like AT&T or something like that, then obviously you lose access to Verizon specific cloud.
Wow.
Okay, and lastly, I remember when I changed laptops, I think they downloaded everything in my computer into an external hard drive.
Okay.
So that's essentially like a flash drive, except it's a bigger.
Exactly.
Okay, same concept. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to warn you that external hard drives, they have the potential of failing, right? I don't want you to put your full trust in that if that's the only place that those documents are stored.
So I can download that external file on my laptop and then send that information to the cloud, right?
Correct.
That's
yeah.
what
For me, I'm thinking like if you have financial information or something, if for some reason you woke up tomorrow and you're no longer able to access anything on that external drive, I just want you to be mindful of what it is that you would need to have saved somewhere else, so you don't have terrible crisis.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm still trying to connect this. It's asked me to open up a smart switch on my old phone. I don't think that's on here.
What types of Android phones did you have, Mel?
The Galaxies. I'm trying to get the Galaxy Note 4 to transfer to the new one.
Okay, so the old one was a Note 4. And what was the new one again?
I think it's a 20.
Was that a Galaxy Note 20?
Right.
Okay, I will look up some specific instructions, and then does Carolyn have your email address, Mel?
Yes, she does.
Okay, all right. We will find some specific instructions, and I'll get an email out to you tonight before I go to bed.
Okay.
With some specific instructions there, because that without seeing it in person, it's a little hard.
They want me to open the smart switch, but I don't think there's one on the 4, right? To connect. The phones want to try to connect, but they're looking for a smart switch on the Note 4.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that and make sure you're taken care of. Did anyone else have any questions before we end today?
The other one was just about that question. I trying to retrieve my old email account, and it sends me to this page, and they ask you to have a credit card handy.
That doesn't sound right.
Nope.
Google shouldn't be asking you for credit card information if you're trying to retrieve an email account.
Right. It's a old it's a Yahoo account.
I'm sorry, what kind of email?
It's a Yahoo.
Yahoo. Yeah, I don't think they should be asking for credit card either.
There's a number they want you to call, and they say have your credit card or debit card handy. Like, what?
Yeah, don't do that.
That's all right.
Corey, I just want to thank you. I think the class has been great. You explained a lot of things. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's awesome. Glad that about it.
Yeah, so we'll be getting those these slides out to you. So if you have any other questions, I have my email address and phone number at the very last slide here.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Corey. I learned a lot. Thank you.
glad to hear. So are you feeling more confident now, Karen?
I am, and now I have a better sense of, again, what my problem is and what my options might be. So yeah, I do. I'll have to tell you if we ever meet about my great story about my son and atoms, and if you see he's a physicist.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same story. It's like, how do I know there are atoms in these making up a table and a chair? I have limited imagination, but thank you. You did help me with that same problem.
Excellent.
Appreciate your time today.
You're welcome.
Corey, I appreciate your time also. I appreciate your patience also. I thought you did a wonderful job with all of us.
Thank you.
I know it's a little early, but have a great weekend.
All right. You as well.
Thank you.
I see the name of your company now. Okay, Carolyn.
Technically right.
Well, thank you all for coming.